How might your life have been different if there was a religion for you? A religion that honored you as a woman, as made equal in the image of God. Welcome to Heretica, her ecofeminist theology podcast. My name is Elena and I am an ecofeminist theologian. Please subscribe at theologyofher.substack.com. The Gospel of Matthew. In the Gospel of Matthew, we meet Mary Magdalene at the same moments of Jesus' life as in Mark, at the crucifixion, the burial, the discovery of the empty tomb, and the resurrection appearance. Beginning with Mary Magdalene among many women at the cross. And many women were there, beholding from afar, who had followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering unto him, among whom was Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. In the Gospel of Matthew, we meet Mary Magdalene for the first time at the cross, as it was the case in Mark. She is in the company of many other women. They are looking at the crucifixion from a distance. As in Mark, Matthew also states Mary Magdalene's name first. Matthew, though, in his Gospel writing, avoids everything that could give the impression that the women followed Jesus as disciples. Mary Magdalene is not considered here among the disciples of Jesus in Galilee. Matthew seems to grant these women a less important place in Jesus' life and ministry. Mary Magdalene is essentially just a caregiver in Matthew. Mary Magdalene guards the tomb. And Mary Magdalene was there, and the other Mary, sitting over against the sepulchre. As in Mark, Mary Magdalene is also present at the burial of Jesus in Matthew. Here, the sitting of the women at the tomb should be interpreted as an act of mourning. In many biblical and non-biblical texts, the standard posture for mourning is one of sitting. The women are also mentioned as guarding the tomb. Thus, the role of Mary Magdalene and the other woman shifts from being witnesses who see where the body has been buried in Mark to being guards who secure the tomb in Matthew. Mary Magdalene as messenger to the male disciples. Mary Magdalene is mentioned for the third time in the Gospel of Matthew in the visit to the tomb. Mary Magdalene and the other woman went to see the tomb. The reason for the two women's visit in Matthew is to see the tomb. The purpose of anointing the body of Jesus, given in Mark 16:1, is not mentioned by Matthew. Matthew tells very briefly how an angel descends from heaven, rolls the stone away from the tomb, and goes to sit on it. In more detail, he describes the subsequent meeting between the angel and the women. In contrast to Mark, the women do not enter the tomb. For Matthew, the place of the woman is outside the tomb. The message from the angel to the women roughly follows the outline of Mark, but differs concerning some nuances. The most important element is that the resurrection is part of the words the women are given to pass on to the disciples. Tell his disciples he has been raised from the dead, and indeed, he is going ahead of you to Galilee. There you will see him. In Matthew, the women not only have to report a meeting in Galilee as in Mark, but also the resurrection. The women do as they are charged, but along the way encounter the risen Christ. He gives them the same commission as the angel, in almost the same wording. The only difference is that Jesus calls the disciples his brothers, which seems to eliminate the possibility that disciples refers also to female followers. The commission continues as follows: "Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." Consequently, Mary Magdalene and the other woman are the first to see the risen Christ in Matthew. This is definitely the most important difference with Mark, one which gives Mary Magdalene a new significance and an extra dimension. She is the first to whom the risen Christ appears. After Jesus has finished his message, the women leave. We do not know the answer to Jesus' commission, nor do we learn about any other reaction they might have had. Although the women are afraid, they hasten to tell the disciples about the resurrection and their promised encounter with Christ in Galilee. Although the women have seen the risen Christ personally, they are depicted mainly as messengers, with the task of handing on to the male disciples the important message of the resurrection of Christ in an appearance. This becomes very clear at the end of the Gospel. In 28:19, Jesus gives the disciples the commission to go to all nations to make them disciples by baptizing them. This shows how the male disciples received the real message of Christ, namely to make more people believe in Jesus, the Christ. The women are just the ones who pass on information. As in Mark, in Matthew's Gospel, Mary Magdalene, accompanied by the other Mary, is present at all the crucial moments between the crucifixion and the resurrection. When Jesus dies at the cross, when Joseph of Arimathea lays the body into the tomb, when an angel announces the resurrection, and at the first resurrection appearance. But the role of the women in general, and of Mary Magdalene in particular, is reduced through certain redactional interventions. The women are not followers in the theological sense, but accompany Jesus to Jerusalem to care for him. They do not witness the place where the body of Jesus is laid, but rather keep watch over the tomb. They do not enter the empty tomb because they are addressed by the angel outside the tomb. Even at the first appearance of the risen Christ, they are not the focus of attention, but rather it's his disciples, whom the risen Christ calls my brothers. The male disciples are the ones who receive the true message of Jesus, namely to go to all nations and to baptize them. Matthew's redaction is faithful enough to the tradition not to dare to change the fact that Mary Magdalene and the other Mary, and not his disciples, were present at the crucial moments of Jesus' death and resurrection. He nevertheless subtly diminishes the role of the women and depicts them merely as the messengers, who are charged to announce the important message of the resurrection to the male disciples and to inform them about the meeting with Christ in Galilee. We can assume, regarding Jesus calling his disciples brothers, since the women are in his presence, the women are together when all is revealed. The message is only for his male disciples, since they are not there. We can further realize that women could be the messengers of theology overall, from deep time, and as such women are the first theologians. In Mark we saw that the men abandoned Jesus at the crucifixion. the women remain and are witnesses. This is very powerful regarding the attitude of the women at such an important moment. And of course, their absence is also why women become the messengers. There seems to be a higher meaning as to why the women are the messengers. Life is not about running away from it. We need to run towards it, no matter how challenging it is. And only then we will meet our own higher self. The women know this. Next episode, we learn more about Mary Magdalene through the Gospel of Luke. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me on this journey. How might your life have been different if there was a religion for you? A religion that affirmed you as a woman, as equal to man, and made in the image of God. Heretica, her eco-feminist theology.